Anyone who is interested in horror movies will have heard of The Conjuring, the first in a set of 4 movies. The first one was released in 2013 and is based around the Perron family, Carolyn, Roger and their 5 daughters, who allegedly were plagued by demons, evil spirits and a supposed witch. I love these movies, even though I understand that most of the content has been exaggerated for effect and to scare viewers. Ed and Lorraine Warren, who were famous paranormal investigators, were the stars of the show due to them being heavily involved in the case when it was going on. Ed Warren was a World War II veteran and a former police officer who became a self-professed demonologist after studying the subject on his own. His wife Lorraine claimed to be a clairvoyant and medium who was capable of communicating with the demons Ed discovered. In 1952, Ed and Lorraine founded the New England Society for Psychic Research, the oldest ghost hunting group in New England. They quickly gained notoriety as respected paranormal investigators after their initial investigation of the Amityville hauntings. Their 2 most famous cases, however, were popularised by the Conjuring franchise, a series of movies that focus on Ed and Lorraine's experiences exorcising demons from 2 possessed families, the Perron family, then a few years later the Hodgson family in the Enfield haunting. Although the movies were impossible to believe for a lot of people, the Warrens maintain that all the events depicted actually happened. Ed Warren died in 2006, which left Lorraine to become the sole consultant on the films, and claims that she didn't let the directors take any more dramatic license than was necessary. There has been a lot of controversy concerning the Warrens. Many believe them to be fake and only interested in fame and fortune. Some who were involved with them said they were told what to say. Even if nothing paranormal happened, they were told to lie about this. How true this is, I don't know, but it's a debate that will most likely go on for years. So what is the real truth behind the Perron family haunting and the Conjuring movie? Was it a real haunting or just an elaborate hoax? First of all, The Conjuring is just a movie. It's not a documentary dedicated to facts or supported by research and historical documentation. The supposed haunting on which the film is based has always been plagued with questions about its authenticity. Former owners of the Perrons farmhouse have spoken out and broke down the Conjuring film scene by scene to demonstrate a load of inaccuracies and inconsistencies from actual events. A series of self-published books written 30 years after the events took place is riddled with supposed facts that don't match any historical records, or they cite individuals who can't be located. The story of The Conjuring that inspired the film focuses on the worrying events of the Perron family, which were written in a series of books by Andrea Perron, the oldest daughter. The books are titled House of Darkness, House of Light. First, a few undisputed facts. Carolyn and Roger Perron and their 5 daughters moved into the 14-room farmhouse at 1667 Round Top Road, just outside of Harrisville, near the Rhode Island border in 1970. They lived there for 10 years. While the property is portrayed in both the books and the film as being isolated and remote, it's just a 25-minute drive to Providence and an hour's drive to Boston. The farmhouse, which was built in 1736, sits on 8.5 acres. It's been known by many names over the years: the Richardson House, the Arnold Estate, Old Brook Farm. Now it's known as the Conjuring House, thanks to the film. Here's what the parents say happened shortly after the family moved in. A few family members began to notice strange occurrences. A broom would disappear and reappear. They heard noises, including a tapping noise on the kettle. Piles of dirt would appear on a newly cleaned floor. Andrea writes that as the strange events intensified, her mother felt the need to investigate the farm's history. Andrea Perron's books are largely based on her mother's supposed research. In the Perrons' version of events, at least a dozen mysterious deaths had occurred on the property, including the murders of an infant and a child, a suicide in the attic, and multiple drownings in a nearby creek. These tragic souls were left tied to the property in the form of spirits which were encountered by members of the Perron family. They claimed that one of these spirits smelled like rotting flesh. Andrea Perron stated that her mother believed a female demon was behind the mysterious deaths, and she ordered the other spirits around. In an interview, she said that whoever the spirit was, she saw herself as a mistress of the house, and she resented the competition from my mother for that position. Within a few months of moving in, Caroline Perron reached out to paranormal investigators. One group, which included a psychic medium, claims to have witnessed a variety of phenomena, including objects moving on their own, unexplained noises, and strange odours. They also claim to have communicated with several spirits, including a child named Manny and an older woman who was a demented spirit. However, other researchers at the time found no evidence of a haunting and observed nothing unusual. Also, one family member appeared to be immune from the unexplained activity. Roger Perron reportedly never encountered anything otherworldly in the home, and would often ask Andrea to refrain from speaking out about her ghostly experiences. Not put off by the skeptics, the Perrons kept reaching out for help, eventually meeting Ed and Lorraine Warren. In 1970, just prior to meeting the Perrons, the couple had attracted national attention by publicising a strange case involving a Raggedy Ann doll owned by a nurse. According to the nurse and her housemate, the doll started doing strange things like moving around, writing notes, and generally becoming very creepy. They threw it out several times, only to come home from work to find it sitting in their living room. A medium had told them the doll was possessed by a young girl who was run over and killed on the road just outside their apartment. Ed said it was a demonic entity. Lorraine said that the demon was using the doll as a conduit, trying to gain trust. Eventually, the demon would possess one of the people who lived in the apartment. As demons don't possess objects, they possess people. The Warrens took the doll away, and after having it blessed by a priest, they placed it in a secure cabinet in their haunted museum. In 1971, after Caroline Perron begged for their help, Ed and Lorraine made multiple trips to investigate the farmhouse haunting. The Warrens claimed a member of their research team saw the misty figure of a woman, heard unexplained noises and other phenomena. As part of her historical evidence gathering, Caroline had done some amateurish research that involved talking to locals and confirming their stories with psychics. Caroline was given the name of a woman, Bathsheba Sherman, by a local neighbour. Bathsheba had a dark reputation. According to Caroline, Bathsheba had lived in the farmhouse in the 1800s. Lorraine listened in fascination as Caroline told the story of Bathsheba's extraordinary life. She had killed an infant, possibly her own, with a knitting needle by impaling the child's skull with it, but was then acquitted at trial due to lack of evidence. Brutal Bathsheba beat and starved her farmhands for years. Eventually, after drowning one of her other children in the basement well, she hung herself in the attic. Locals believed Bathsheba was a witch who practiced dark magic and worshipped the devil. Lorraine Warren had the information she needed, and from then on, the presence haunting the Perron home was referred to as Bathsheba by Lorraine and all those associated with the haunting. Andrea wrote in one of her books that Caroline experienced a sudden piercing pain in her calf while lying on the sofa, and on inspection, a perfectly circular wound was found, as if a large sewing needle had punctured her skin. Lorraine suggested that the suspected witch could have taken the needle with her to the afterlife and used it to harm Carolyn. As part of their services, Lorraine led a séance in which Carolyn was supposedly possessed by Bathsheba and spoke in tongues until her husband Roger put an end to it. Andrea Perron claims she secretly witnessed the séance. "I thought I was going to pass out," Andrea told a reporter. "My mother began to speak in a language not of this world, in a voice not her own." Her chair levitated and she was thrown across the room. In the film, Lorraine did not perform a séance, rather Ed performed an exorcism. The Conjuring portrays the Warrens as gentle, soulful people who just want to help. But history paints the couple quite differently, with people who knew them saying the bulk of their work was exaggerated or exploitive, or, as with the Amityville Horror, intentionally fabricated for profit and fame. The 2023 Netflix documentary The Devil on Trial depicts the Warrens as swindlers who preyed on vulnerable families. They would insist that there were demons or evil spirits haunting the family's homes, using words and equipment that ordinary people did not understand, just so they could profit from the family's fear. Some would describe the Warrens as a pair of conniving, reality-distorting, shameless self-promoters and sham psychics running a long-term con job. Curiously, despite the farm being overrun with what Lorraine described as dangerous demons led by an infant-killing witch with a knitting needle as an afterlife weapon, the Perrons continued to live there for 9 years until 1980. The hauntings miraculously stopped when the Perrons left. So who was the real Bathsheba Sherman? As is often the case with sloppy research, Carolyn had a few facts right but many wrong. Bathsheba Sherman was a real person who lived in Rhode Island in the 19th century. She was born in 1812 and married Judson Sherman in 1844 at the age of 32. Bathsheba's grave notes that she died on May the 25th, 1885 at the age of 73, approximately 4 years after the death of her husband. She did not hang herself, as was said by the Perrons. The Burryville Gazette reported that she died following a sudden paralysis, a common way back then to describe a stroke. The books also falsely claim that all of her children died before the age of 4. But government census records show that her son Herbert L. Sherman lived a long life as a farmer, had a family and outlived his mother. The fate of her other 3 children, Julia, Edward and George, is unclear. In Andrea's book House of Darkness, House of Light, Carolyn Perron is described as speaking with a man named Mr. McEachin, a local historian. He is the one who allegedly told Carolyn about Bathsheba's history and the rumours about her. However, researchers have been unable to find any evidence of a local historian named Mr. McEachin, nor could they find any evidence of a trial or inquiry involving Bathsheba. The trial of a woman killing an infant by plunging a knitting needle into its skull surely would have been front-page news, but there's no record of it in local papers nor courthouse documents. She was a lifelong member of the local Baptist church, and a minister conducted her funeral, both unlikely if she was in league with Satan. Contrary to internet rumours and local legends, there is no evidence to support that her body literally turned to stone. Bathsheba also never lived at the Perron farmhouse, but on the Sherman farm some distance away. Bathsheba Sherman was not a demon, a child murderer, a witch, or a worshipper of Satan. Based on facts, she appears to have lived the fairly average life of a hard-working farmer's wife. Sadly, the conjuring smeared her memory with unfounded accusations. Her grave and headstone have been targeted by vandals for years, and Carolyn and Andrea Perron are to blame. It's unclear if the Perron family farmhouse was ever haunted, But was it a fabrication like the Amityville Horror or something else? Researcher Jim Nichol took a long look into the events and came to the conclusion in a 2016 article for the Skeptical Inquirer. He said, "I analysed the Perrons' claims of demonic activity and showed they were consistent with the effects of strong winds, misperceptions, schoolgirl pranks, vivid dreams, simple suggestion, role-playing and other factors, including one child having an imaginary playmate, and the effects of memory after some 30 to 40 years. Nichols' take on the Warrens' findings were dubious at best, and their reputation hurts the story's overall credibility. In his article, he picked apart selected passages from Andrea's books and provided an explanation for the phenomena. His research also turned up that unlike the happy, tranquil family described in the books, they were a dysfunctional mess, with Carolyn and Roger on the verge of separation that ended in divorce. Roger denounced the Warrens as a pair of two-bit charlatans, and Carolyn insisted her daughter agreed the house was haunted as a show of loyalty. Bathsheba's suicide in the farmhouse attic is just one of the many deaths wrongly attributed to the property. Other deaths Carolyn said she uncovered happened in different locations. There is no record of anyone purposely killing an infant in the 300-year history of the property. Had any such deaths occurred, it would have likely been recorded in what is known as the Black Book of Burryville, a list of unusual deaths from 1806 compiled by historians in the township of Burryville, where the farmhouse officially sits. Nichol also talked with Jerry and Norma Sutcliffe, who lived on the property from 1987 to 2019, and they reported no strange occurrences. Their biggest problem were vandals and trespassers following the 2013 release of the first Conjuring film. Another couple purchased the house for $439,000 in 2019. They claimed all manner of demonic activity to reporters, but they may have been motivated to big up the property's haunted reputation. If that was their plan, it paid off. They sold the house in 2022 for $1.5 million, a tidy million-plus profit for them. The house was purchased by Boston developer Jacqueline Nunez, who has a fascination with the supernatural. According to reports by the Boston Globe and various interviews, the house doesn't allow people to live there all year round because the energy is so powerful. Paranormal investigators would hire the house for their investigations. They were also offered overnight stays as well as haunted tours, paying thousands of dollars for the privilege. The owners soon made their purchase money back, along with millions of dollars in profit. Whether the house was really haunted in the 70s is still an ongoing debate. It's a case of you weren't there, so you can't possibly say if it was true or not. This is something I've always said though. Most of the time it's a matter of opinion. If someone doesn't believe in the paranormal, then they will always disbelieve it. As for someone saying, if it was that bad, why did the parents stay for 10 years? Well, not everyone has the funds to just pick up sticks and move on. They had sunk all their money into the house and just had to wait until they could afford to move. The main thing that goes against their story is the research. Carolyn's research consisted of asking local people. She did not dig deep enough or would have found out the truth about Bathsheba Sherman. She did play right into Lorraine Warren's hands on that one, and gave her a good story on which Lorraine could make up wicked demons and an evil spirit woman. I believe the house could have been haunted, but not in the way described by Andrea Perron, and certainly not to the extent shown in the film. I of course know the films in the Conjuring series are mostly fiction, but as a horror film enthusiast, I watch them for the scares, the same as every other horror film. In late 2024, the Burryville Town Council declined to renew Jacqueline Nunez's entertainment licence due to ongoing issues with neighbours former employees and the police department. As a result of mortgage defaults, the property was put up for a Halloween auction, which was later cancelled. Comedian Matt Rife and YouTuber Elton Cassidy, who recently purchased the home and a cult museum of Ed and Lorraine Warren, have expressed interest in purchasing the house to preserve it. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.